Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajata Parijana Sahitam
Krishna Chaitanya.
Devam. No. I'm so sorry. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachanam Pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Vishnu Hare Krishna everyone. Today's is an auspicious day that it is Dwadashi and also the disappearance days of Srila Raghunatha Das Goswami, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So all three of their disappearance days also. So I beg the blessings of all the devotees, Adipurush Guru, and everyone, that I can share something from the lives of these devotees and also glorify them and beg for their blessings and inspiration so that we could also please Krishna by glorifying these great Vaishnavas in the assembly of devotees for their pleasure. Thank you. So this is today is an auspicious day. Many times when I speak on the disappearance days, I mention this, that how these great Vaishnavas, they are Nityasiddhas, they are eternal associates of the Lord. However, when they take birth, the world may not actually know their greatness most of the times. However, when they leave their bodies, that's when their full contribution is visible to the eyes of the world. And so they can actually understand their greatness So that is why the Disappearance Day of Vaishnava is also celebrated and observed, because to develop gratitude for the contributions that they have made in order to uplift the conditioned souls rotting in the material world. So here we see these great personalities, Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. The contributions are immense to the line of Gaudiya Sampradaya. Raghunath Das Goswami, though a son of a wealthy landowner who inherited a huge amounts of wealth, he gave up everything to join Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was known for his renunciation, humility, and of course devotion, because he is also the Prayojanacharya, the teacher of life's ultimate goal, pure love of God. So he is the Prayojanacharya, and he was so renounced that when he was living in Jagannath Puri, he used to first beg prasadam at the temple gate. Later, eventually ended up eating only the rejected rice thrown out from the Jagannath Mahaprasad stalls and kitchen. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so pleased. He offered his personal Govardhan Shila that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would carry around with his neck and would constantly be embracing. And it is said the Shila was constantly bathed by the tears of separation coming from the lotus eyes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that was personally gifted to Raghunath Das Goswami. And Raghunath Das Goswami also wrote those famous verses praying for residents at the foothills of Sri Govardhan. So that is called as the Govardhan Vasa Prarthana Dashka. That Raghunath Das Goswami prays to Sri Govardhan in order to actually glorifies Govardhan, to have a residence at the foothills of Govardhan. So because he was offered, he says, he does not say that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered me Govardhan. He says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered me to Govardhan. So he does not say, I received Govardhan from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the verses, he says, I was mercifully offered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sri Govardhan. That's how he says. When Srila Prabhupada was planning to come to the US, some of his godbrothers asked, we heard that you are going to America. Prabhupada said, no, Bhagavatam is going to America. I am just carrying Bhagavatam. So similarly here, Raghunath Das Goswami, he did not think that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave me Govardhan. No, he said, I was offered mercifully, even though unqualified, by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sri Govardhan. So he says, Nijapati Bujadanda Shatra Bhavam Prapatya Pratihatamada Drishto Danta Devendra Garva Atula Prutula Shaila Shreni Pupa Priyamme Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanastu. That he glorifies Govardhan as, O Sri Govardhan, you became the umbrella atop the handle of the arm of your Lord. That Krishna's hand became the handle for an umbrella, and Govardhan became the umbrella which protected all the residents of Vrindavan. And he says, you crushed the pride of proud and arrogant and impudent Indra. So the prayer is also that the conditioned soul is also is intoxicated by pride and arrogance and impudence. And he says, you are the incomparable kings of all great mountains. So how you crushed the pride of the proud, arrogant, and impudent Indra, similarly crush my pride also, make me humble. so that I can have shelter near you, O Govardhan. So first thing he emphasizes in his prayers is like that, how one needs to actually give up the vanity that a conditioned soul harbors in this world, thinking I'm this body and everything that actually belongs to me is for my enjoyment. And constantly in that mood of being an enjoyer and control in this world, we have been going around for millions of lifetimes in this world. And it's very rare that we get an opportunity to realize that we are just living in an auto mode, life after life, just being carried away by lust, anger, pride, greed, illusion, by all of these anarthas. And pride is a very crucial one because it actually protects everything else. All the other enemies, it gives a fort so that all the other enemies can very comfortably stay within our hearts. So the more we are proud, it's very difficult to actually make any advancement in spiritual life. So humility is the foundation on which one spiritual life is built. So that is like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He also writes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that one should actually wear this verse, Trinadapi Sunichena, as a necklace around the neck. A devotee needs to wear this particular verse as a he says, Urdhva Bahu Kari Kahum Shuna Sarvaloka Nama Sutre Ganti Pare Kante Shloka. He says, raising my hands, I declare, everyone, please hear me. So this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami speaking in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 17th chapter verse 32. That Urdhva Bahu Kari Kahum, I am raising my hands and declaring to the whole world, Shuna Sarvaloka, please everyone hear me. Nama Sutre Kanti Para Kante Shlok. String this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it on your neck for continuous remembrance. And Srila Prabhupada writes, when chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the beginning, one may commit many offenses which are called Nama Bhas and Nama Para. In this stage, there is no possibility of achieving perfect love of Krishna by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Therefore, one must chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra according to the principles of the above verse. Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishrana. One should note in this connection that chanting involves the activities of the upper and lower lips as well as the tongue. All three must be engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The words Hare Krishna should be very distinctly pronounced and heard. Sometimes one mechanically produces a hissing sound instead of chanting with the proper pronunciation with the help of the lips and tongue. Chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. These are the gems of Srila Prabhupada. Like he says, chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. Therefore, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, advises everyone to keep this verse always strung about his neck. So, that the theme of humility is very common to the lives of all these three acharyas. That Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's humility was that he says, Jagai Madai. Yes. Jagai Madai haite mui se papishta, Purishera Kita haite mui se lagishta. He says, I'm more sinful than Jagai and Madai, and I'm lower than a worm in this too. So, and in the introduction of the book, that's how he introduces himself as the author of a book. And we all, like, sometimes people say before you give a lecture, send a bio about you. So no, nobody gives a bio like this. I am more sinful than Jagai and Madai and lower than a worm in a stool. We all try to say nice things about ourselves so that people would actually respect and take us seriously. But here he's writing a whole work, especially the monumental Chaitanya Charitamrita, and how he introduces himself is, I'm more sinful than Jagai and Madai. I'm lower than a worm in this too. Please don't take my name, you will get sins. But just remember Krishna and remember Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you also better read Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat. So he recommends, please go and read Chaitanya Bhagavata by Vrindavan Das Thakur. And usually, like, nobody does, okay, don't read my book, read another book. But he literally says, if you really want to know about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, first read Vrindavan Das Thakur's, Chaitanya Bhagavatam. So his whole life was just dedicated. His whole life's work was basically preparing himself in order to write the biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is one of the prominent works on the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Still, he considered all that was actually the blessings of Rupa and Raghunatha Goswami. So every chapter at the end, he says, I pray at the dust to the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, and only by their mercy I'm writing whatever I'm writing. So he had that deep humility, and that actually qualified him to be the writer of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. It was, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, I don't see that he left any original verses. However, he was extremely well known for his character of not finding faults with any devotees, and also sweetly singing the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is very lesser known that he also actually helped Rupa Goswami to build the Radha Govinda temple in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So the temple, even today, it is magnificent. Even after it is broken, like it had 6 stories, and currently only 1 story is remaining. The rest were actually demolished by Aurangzeb, one of the Mughal rulers, because the building was the tallest at that time, and he could see the light glowing on top of the temple from his palace in Agra, which is slightly far from Vrindavan, and he could see the light glowing on top of the Govinda's temple, Govindaji's temple, and he asked his attendants, "What is that light that I am seeing?" They said, "This is from the temple, Sri Gaur and Radha Govindaji temple in Vrindavan." He said, "How dare that something of that tall exists closer to my ruling king, like capital." So he sends people to demolish, and they literally start attacking the whole of Vrindavan, and especially the Radha Govinda temple. They demolish the 5 stories, and then they hear the workers, basically the soldiers, they hear such a loud sound. They all become extremely fearful, abandon and run away, and tell him that it was demolished. That's all, because they were so afraid by hearing the noise. They literally ran away, and that's how the rest of the temple was saved. So today you will see there is a ground floor and 1 floor above. Still the architecture is amazing, and it's so huge. And Raghunath Bhatta Goswami actually helped with that whole project of building Radha Govindaji's temple in Sri Vrindavan. In this way, there's humility was such a common theme, and renunciation also was such a common theme. They were so detached from the bodily conception and was completely absorbed in their service to Krishna. It is 7:36. it is also said that by their lives of Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, we also understand that how in their humility they took complete shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Their humility was not the feeling of inferiority complex. They were thinking less of themselves. They were not thinking less of themselves. They were thinking about Krishna more. They were absorbed in their devotion to Krishna. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also says that the ornament of the devotee is not the beads or the tilak, but the humility. Because pride makes us very artificial. And in that mood, it is very difficult to take shelter of Krishna. Why would a pride person take shelter of another person? So the very nature of pride actually is against the principle of devotional service, because it does not allow us to actually take shelter of Supreme Lord. And all these three acharyas, by their life and by their character, they show that humility is the hallmark of a Vaishnava. And through their writings and especially by their life, they emphasize that. And Kaviraj Goswami continues from the verse that we read earlier, that Prabhu Agya Kare Shloka Acharan Avashya Pai Bethave Shri Krishna Charan. It says one must strictly follow the principles given by Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this verse. He's referring to the verse Trinadapi Suni Chaitanya. If one simply follows in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya and the Goswamis, certainly he will achieve the ultimate goal of life, the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. So he says, in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regularly led congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra in the house of Srivas Thakur every night for 1 full year. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu engaged in his pastimes of Sankirtan, it is not just they were just chanting and it was a musical affair. So sometimes Kirtan could become like that. The singing is very easy to follow and also very pleasurable for the senses. So we do see a lot of people come for Kirtan, but they may never come for a talk or other programs, because it is very relatable, it is very accessible, and also non-intrusive, like nobody is telling them what to do. And it's also very natural. Anyway, they enjoy music, so they also come and hear the Kirtan and they get moved by it. They surely get benefit. There is no doubt about it. However, a lot of times it can also be just taken as a frivolous thing. Still, the holy name surely can purify whoever we are, whatever is our motivation. However, here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not lead his kirtan as a matter of just having good time. Okay, let's come together and sing and dance and just have a good time, which is like a part of it, which is a natural effect of it. But they were absorbed in the holy name. And the mood in which they were absorbed is also given here, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. The mood in which they are absorbed in the holy name is that Trinadapi Sunichena. They know why they are doing this. It is for the pleasure of Krishna. And that particular attitude is what he is emphasizing. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is emphasizing that without the proper attitude, chanting, be it japa or kirtan, will not actually take effect in the heart. So that is why it is very important that we see that humility is such a important aspect of all of these acharyas, because Raghunatha Das Goswami and especially Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, because he was humble, he did not find faults with other devotees. It is actually an extremely difficult quality, that because it does not take a lot to actually find faults. It does take a little intelligence anyone has, and probably even that, not that. all that takes to find faults is just a little intelligence. And I don't know if that can be called as intelligence, but yeah, just a little discrimination or little discernment. Again, the word discernment, I don't know if I can use it for fault finding again. So all that takes is just to see the bad, because the mind is by nature attracted to the negatives. The whole all the news and everything that is the information that is passed around is usually negative, because that attracts the attention of the mind. No newspaper or no news channels or YouTube channels which gives out news dishes out like positive things. Oh, these people, this couple has been living together for a successful marriage for like 50 years. No, if there is a scandalous thing, that will surely come on the news. And so constantly feeding the nature of the mind, which is actually very naturally attracted to negativity. Because why is it attracted to negativity? The programming is there because, say, for example, it's made for the sake of surviving in this world. Because if we don't doubt, then we will not be able to, we may by mistake put ourselves in danger. That's why the mind is wired like that, that it immediately spots the problem in a given thing. Like if you're just walking around and if you don't see there is something wrong here, then we may get into a problem. So the nature of mind is, as soon as you get to a place, what's wrong is like usually as a matter of survival instinct, the mind has the tendency, okay, what is the problem here? That is, we note that so that we can actually survive. So it's the survival tendency of the mind that it naturally spots the problems and the negative things. So it is very natural to take it. However, when we become very unconscious in this world, we also start, even in the association of devotees, we have the same survival instinct. If everybody is great, then I won't have then I'm nobody. So that survival instinct of wanting to be someone immediately comes out as finding faults with others. And if everybody is not great, then I am great. So on my own, I don't have anything to consider myself as great. So I bring everybody down so that I can at least feel a sense of superiority. So that pride actually acts as a blockage, a serious blockage for actually having better association and to actually soften the heart. It's very difficult. And here, Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami exemplified that he would not want to actually speak anything negative about devotees. And it is said that if all he would say is, as long as that person is chanting and taking shelter of Krishna, Krishna will take care of them. I don't need to focus on their negative. And he would rather focus on the good things. And he would make his absorption in Krishna a priority. And so that he could actually act as an example for the broader community, that how finding faults is to our own detriment. However, as I said, it's very, very natural for the mind to go to the negatives, especially when we live in an organization, in a closer association. If we just want to open our eyes and see, then we start seeing so much problems. And means I'm telling myself, because it's my nature. Like I can just become critical very easily with anything or any situation or people. So just because I don't absorb myself in the positivity, in the glories and in the positive things in the association, so I can become very overwhelmed, just float in a pool of negativity constantly, and it can sap the energy, the devotional energy, and eventually leaves us dry and void of any devotional sentiments for Krishna and his devotees. So that's why it's important to take note of these qualities of all these three great devotees, that they are all, what is common among them is all that they are very humble, and also they are very detached from sense gratification. and they were extremely attached to Krishna through their life and their works. It is very evident. So, thank you, everyone. Is there anything anybody wants to share?
Thank you, Gaur Sharan Prabhu. Would Temple Room like to speak, since it's an in-person class? Temple Room, Hare Krishna.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
I can't see. Okay, anyway,
Uh,
what do I do? Turn it around?
Yeah, no, yeah, you could just.
What could I do? Wait a minute, we have technical advice here. Hare Krishna. Fantastic class. Wonderful subject matter about humility. Thank you so much. And avoiding belittling others to make ourselves seem great. And you made a really nice point there about how humility is a blend of two important qualities. All these devotees were very humble. It's not just about groveling about our own insignificance or disqualification or mistakes, but it's mixed with glorifying Krishna. So if we just say, I'm so fallen, I'm so low, I'm so dirty, that may be true, but also Krishna is so wonderful that he's including us and he's encouraging us and he's caring for us and he's reaching out to us even though we may be fallen and unqualified. So how wonderful is Krishna? That's an important part of humility. When there was one devotee in Baltimore, what is that Sanskrit word that means pock marks on the moon? You don't know? You know that expression, pock marks on the moon? The moon is very bright.
Vatsapadam.
What is it?
Vatsapadam.
Vatsa?
Prabhu saying Vatsapadam.
Vatsapadam. Yeah, the devotee, Prabhupada gave this devotee the name Vatsapadam, pock marks on the moon. It's like, what a name to go through life with. But I noticed when I visited there, traveling around, that he had that tendency to be absorbed in fault finding and criticism. And Prabhupada gave him that name, the servant of, but it's a point that Krishna consciousness is so wonderful, Krishna is so wonderful, and the devotees are so wonderful. And why should we focus on the dark spots when there's so much light being provided? This is a very important instruction that Prabhupada gave us. It's really true. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Men, followed by Gail, followed by Venamaduri Devidasi.
Thank you so much for great class. I have a question in regards to finding faults in others, especially in our spiritual community. We hear what the qualities of brahmanas and Vaishnavas and devotees should be or are like in Srimad Bhagavatam. And as a neophyte, I look into our spiritual community to look for these qualities or to learn about these qualities in the devotees. And I don't necessarily go outside of the spiritual community at this point to look for these qualities. And inevitably, I come across sort of misalignment with the qualities that I hear of what the Vaishnavas and devotees should possess. I feel that I'm in the learning process, and so when I come across qualities that don't necessarily align with what I'm hearing from the Shastra, and that potential that is in me also, and the potential also is in me. I know that. What is the best ways that I see them for what it is, instead of seeing them as a fault, I guess. Thank you.
You're gifted by your sincerity. Krishna's giving you good questions. The Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavat Kinchana Savarganas Tatra Samasati, that the the person who is engaged in devotional service will attain all good qualities. And we look to see if they're in the shower. If someone's in the shower, if they're dirty, they have the soap, they're doing the scrubbing, we can understand that they are a work in progress. And that even if one has committed the most abominable activities, it says, one should be considered saintly because he's rightly situated. Very soon he will become righteous. And mainly, we don't have to speak about judging this other person, whether they're less than perfect, but we can speak about the principle, that absorption in devotional service, that purity of heart, that they offering things with love and being constantly trying to improve ourselves is important. And then we don't have to concentrate on their less than perfect condition, but whether or not they're working on themselves, right? Krishna will, there's a verse in the Bible that says, don't doubt that I will complete the good work I've begun in you. Right? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Focus on the fact that they are trying to be a devotee, and
Mm-hmm.
that will work, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
I think Arjun's raising his hand, or maybe he's scratching his head. Scratching. Okay.
Thank you. Gail?
Hare Krishna, everybody. Yeah, Goswami Prabhu, I just missed when you said that Govardhan Hill is the umbrella, and what did you say is the handle?
What's the handle? Temple room, you are muted.
Sharan Prabhu was saying that Krishna's hand is the handle of the umbrella.
Mhm.
Krishna's arm, he's holding.
Okay.
Krishna is holding.
The Govardhan.
Wait.
So the umbrella's top is like Govardhan is.
I'm not hearing you, Prabhu.
You're muted again.
Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the umbrella is Govardhan.
Yeah.
The handle of the umbrella is Krishna holding.
Mm.
The handle,
Yeah.
Krishna's arm is the handle. How come you're muted?
Because if you don't need to press again.
Don't do anything.
Yeah, you don't.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. And can you mention once this again, more repetition? Can you mention again the significance of the because today is Disappearance Day, right? Raghunatha Das Goswami.
Mm-hmm.
Disappearance. So can you just briefly repeat, the main points why we celebrate Disappearance Day?
Like these are spiritual personalities. Of course, for the soul there is no birth and death. And what are we trying to actually commemorate is glorify and develop gratitude for the contribution that they have done to our lives.
Mm-hmm.
If not for these great souls, we won't be sitting here and knowing about Krishna. We'll be lost in the material world in its darkness forever. So it is why all these great devotees actually come and show us how to be actually a devotee and how to actually practice and how to behave. So in that way, they are the role models for everyone who aspires to practice pure devotion at the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. So without them, we would not have any information or without they sharing their realizations and setting examples, we would not be able to actually know or practice anything. So in order to actually remember them with gratitude is essential to our spiritual life. It's not a detail. So without developing gratitude to the previous teachers, it is impossible to actually take what they have given very seriously. So when we glorify them, why are we glorifying them? Because they lived in a way that is actually glorious, and how they lived and glorified. Say, for example, today when we are remembering Raghunatha Goswami, we are remembering that how he was free from the quality of fault finding. And it is such a tall order and ask for a practicing sadhaka. However, it instills in the heart that, oh, that's a very important quality. What am I doing? Why am I mindlessly finding faults with everyone around me? And I should actually be very cautious and follow in the footsteps. And we could pray that on these days to these personalities that how I acutely lack these qualifications to advance in bhakti. And this is a day we could remember gratefully for the contributions they have done, and we could also pray to them. They are especially merciful. It is said the devotees are even more merciful than Krishna. So then we can actually pray to them on these days and beg for their blessings. And the whole idea of Gaudiya philosophy is also love and separation. So it's not that these devotees lived at some point of time and are no more. They are, they can be connected to with our devotion. So in order to actually also teach us what it means to actually experience love and separation. Of course, we have not had their association actually in person, so we may not really feel that. But if we understand their teachings and their intimacy with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and their devotion to Radha and Krishna and their qualities, we can develop some love for them, and we can, like how Pranaratam Das Thakur is saying, Kaha mora bhatta juga kaha kabiraj, eka kale khota gela, dora meheraj. So he speaks about Kaha mora bhatta juga. He speaks about Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and he also sees Kaha Dasa Raghunath Patita Pavan. Where is that Patita Pavan Raghunath Das Goswami? So in this way, if we also can remember and develop some sentiments in our hearts for these devotees, otherwise the conditioned soul's heart is filled with so many sentiments. I got the lamentation and grief for so many things that we never got or we planned and it did not work. So we have so many lamentations and complaints. But if we could also channel that into actually remembering and meditating on these personalities, what I can learn from that. So these days can be of such a spiritual significance for that. And these are the days where, when they left the world, it was very clear what kind of contribution they have made to the world. Hope that is some thoughts on that, Mother Gail. So the shankar is blowing, so we'll have darshan now. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Guru Sharan Prabhu.
Thank you, Shri Prabhupada. Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam. Ki Jai. Govinda, Hari Purusha. Tamaham bhajami. Mubenam Brothers, speak of spiritual rest on the way to the name of your Russian service. I bow at the Lord's feet with great honor. By his grace, when we come from the ocean between the suffering, and obtain the mercy of fish. I only wish to have my consciousness purified by the words emanate, so that attachment to his Lord's feet, affection, fills all the time. It is like our eyes and fills my heart with transcendental. Even my Lord, burning after birth, an ecstatic friend emanates. The scriptures similarly written. My spiritual master, the ocean of mercy, friend of the war, the Lord and master of the books. O master, be merciful. Give us the shade of the Lord's feet. And us spread all over the new world. We take shelter of the Lord's feet. We will call the key.
Thank you, Arjuna Prabhu. Welcome to the Afterglow, dear devotees. Venu Madhuri, are you here? Would you like to ask your question? Maybe we can address it collectively. Unmute yourself, Venu Madhuri.
Unmute. Hare Krishna. My question was going to be about humility in particular, and I was going to ask Gaur Sharan if he had any tips, sort of for helping to curb pride.
Oh, Bhima can answer that easily. He's got all the humility in the world. Yeah.
Haribol.
So, Bhima Prabhu, how do you curb your pride and develop humility. One time, Indradumna Maharaj approached Prabhupada with a similar question about humility, and Srila Prabhupada told him that humility means you go out and preach boldly and chant Hare Krishna loudly. That's humility. That's one answer that was given by Srila Prabhupada. Chant loudly and preach boldly. That's humility. Adipurusha Prabhu always says that part of humility is that Krishna is great. We may be small and lowly, but Krishna is great. We shouldn't forget about that part of humility. And Bhima Prabhu, whenever this question arises, he always says that just wait, and you'll be humbled. Don't feel humble enough, just wait. And Krishna will arrange a situation.
That's a great answer.
Oh, you'll be humbled. Yeah. Bhima Prabhu, did I represent you properly? He's driving. Adipurusha Prabhu, how do you cultivate humility and curb pride?
By the grace of the spiritual master. It says, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat kinchana savaganas tacha samastate sara. Can you hear that?
The Sanskrit was impressive. Give the translation, please. Adipurusha Prabhu.
Of course, we have regular practice. We're coming in and bowing and offering obeisances. Doesn't it say that the Goswamis offered thousands of obeisances every day? Remember that? It's a little awkward when I'm coming out down the elevator and trying to get in the vehicle where it's quiet enough. Can you hear me?
Humility can be developed by practice, correct? By practicing it, by offering obeisances, right?
Those things go on, but also by the grace of the spiritual master, if we have full faith in Guru and is engaged in the service, all the good qualities of the demigods will develop in our personality because it's actually there already in us. It's simple sanity. And the process is cleansing away, right? Cheto darpanam majanam, that the chanting of the holy name, it cleanses all the dirt accumulated for years. And then the shining soul comes through. That's who we are. It's just simple sanity. The craziness and the misperceptions are dissolved by the process of devotional service. That's the grace of the spiritual master.
Thank you. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when things are good, don't get too elated. In other words, stay humble, don't get too elated. And he also says there that when things aren't so good, don't get too upset. So that can be understood as humility. Humility doesn't mean being upset, lowly and depressed. Humility means keeping our service going, serving the Guru, taking to the process of bhakti. Stay hopeful and optimistic that Krishna knows what he is doing, that the grace of the Guru Parampara is there for us. Raghunath Bhatta, Das Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, their grace, especially today, is available to us, that we honored their personalities on this occasion of their disappearance.
Mentor not Prabhu here.
What about Maturnath?
Is he here?
I don't see him.
When he
Oh,
was
no, I see him. He's here. He's here.
in the Bhakti Center, he was the first one to japa every morning, and he actually uplifted all of us by setting a good example and being on our case a little bit about being diligent about japa. So we're very grateful for that. He rescued us from sloppy focus on chanting the holy name. Thank you, Mature. Hare Krishna. I was hoping you weren't here so we could glorify it.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your kind words. Very nice. By Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we yeah. Try actually humility is also being we try to well up the love for each other and encourage each other to go closer to Krishna by doing it ourselves. But also in the class today, I really appreciated this point that we were talking about dealing with our internal pain, our internal issues, our internal nartas. It's like, how do we get closer? How do we make progress in if we're trying to run a marathon and we have all these wounds? How can we we're like our leg is bleeding and pussing, and we have to also address these things is my big realization. And this is our process, the nartyanavritti. I know I stress this a lot, but I see this as overlooked. We get the grace, but yes, the grace is coming to also help us to deal with our inner pain, our inner wounds that are in bringing us to we usually lash out and forget to be humble because we have these these pains, these anartas, these unwanted things, which because we've accumulated them for many lifetimes, and they've they've showed up in our childhood. It's like our karma is flooding in as a child, and then we don't get our needs met, and we get wounded, and then this pain. So these anarthas are coming, and we're trying to be humble, we're trying to be kind and loving, but these things are popping out of us, and somebody pokes a wound, and then boom, we react, and that has an effect on our spiritual life. So this is a really important, as I see my experience. I talk about my experience. What does anartha nivritti mean? It means really to be taking, as we were talking about I forget who was giving class, but he said it is our service. We should see it as our service to really heal, and as we get into the place where we have faith, we have sadhana, then we start going into the phase of anartha nivritti. And then I see most people don't really dig into that very deeply. They're thinking, well, we're relying on just on grace and mercy, which we are. It said, Prabhupada said, we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps towards us. So that means out of 100%, we have to do 10%, and Krishna does 90%. But we have to know what our 10% is. If we don't know what our 10% is, that we're supposed to be really digging these things out and looking at these things as we do devotional service, as we, are relating to devotees and associating, and revealing our minds in confidence, opening up and sharing. I'm struggling with this. I'm hurting right now. I'm whatever it may be. This is a part of devotional service. So I'm just, when the discussion of humility, being humble also means to reveal ourselves and to address within ourselves. Acknowledge, are we willing to be with ourselves and acknowledge, let me be with you. For so long, I actually wasn't in Krishna consciousness, wasn't really noticing that I exist, just noticing Krishna exists, but we need ourself with Krishna. So am I addressing myself and taking care of what needs to be addressed within me?
Thank you, Maturnath Prabhu. Yeah, we don't teach neglect. We don't say don't brush your teeth neglect your family, neglect your work, you neglect your job, because this tendency to neglect will spill into our bhakti practice also. So thank you very much for emphasizing this. Min has her hand up, and Gail.
Yeah, I just wanted to share something that I've been learning about the connection between humility and gratitude. I've been going to a sangha where Haribol, we've been reading a chapter from Antya Lila and Chaitanya Charitamrita where Kalidas is eating all the remnants of food from all the devotees. And it is so intensely strange as because he's just eating all of it. And we've been talking about why this chapter towards the end of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And my teacher was talking about how it has so much to do with this humility that he possesses. And I've been thinking about what it means to possess humility. And it's really funny because eating, Mahaprasad or prasadam from the remnants of devotees, when I first came to Krishna consciousness, I was like, you do that? Like you eat food out of other people's plates? And I couldn't understand it. But at this point, I feel that when I feel like I'm lacking humility, and that's all the time, it puts me in a place where I feel agitated and judgmental. And I've been noticing that I feel this way when I'm not feeling gratitude towards what I have, that I'm not seeing value in what I've been given at present moment. And that in many ways all that I want and what I need is somewhere else than right here that Krishna has provided me. So I've been just noticing that if I'm not grateful for what I have now, that it's hard for me to feel humility.
Thank you, Min. Gratitude is the key to humility. Thank you for making this point. Gail, do you still have your hand up?
Well, I can. I mean, so many facets of humility have been offered already. I was just thinking to offer another one, which I like very much, which is that I get this from Danda Maharaj, actually, that humility means to put someone else's desires ahead of your own. Again, like we've been saying, it doesn't mean that you neglect your needs, but when you make someone else's desires your objective, your focus, it means that your own desires, not your needs, but your own desires, take a back seat. And that's another aspect of humility. And so, if that's the case, then you can perform activities that look very far from meek, like Arjuna on the battlefield. That didn't look like humility because he was being very bold and aggressive and trying to win the war. That doesn't look like humility, but it was because he was doing it not for his own sake, but for the sake of someone he loved. So, yeah, just putting someone else's desires and needs ahead of your own is also another aspect of humility. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Gail. It's a big relief not having to be in the center of the universe. It's such a relief, isn't it?
Well,
It's not all about me. Krishna is in the center and we are in the servant's quarter.
I don't have that experience yet, but trying to get there.
Thank you, Gil. Okay, so we're going to ask Anandi to unmute herself and recite the Maha Mantra sincerely and humbly. Anandi, with humility. Show us how it's done. Anandi. Okay. Hold on, Devaki Preeti is joining. Let's see if she's available to recite the mantra. Devaki Preeti, would you like to recite the Maha Mantra humbly?
Yes, I would like to recite it. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis and Vaishnavettes on this call and outside too ki jai.